Coming at you from Scratch Wolf Studio, it's that time to rage across the internet. Your very favorite Werewolf the Apocalypse podcast. As always, I'm your host, Porter. Sitting across from me, he just died in your arms tonight. It's Mr. Daniel Tyson.
Hey, everybody.
And the jig is up. He's a wanted man. To my right is the one and only CJ.
Howdy, y'all.
And she comes from a land on under. If by under you mean like far to the... She's far away now. It's our very own M.
Hello, hello.
Good to see everybody, and welcome back, M.
Thank you. And for the record, nowhere near Australia.
No, but you could go under because it's round. So you could go down under to get to Sweden and just take the long way home, which is another song. You see what I did there? Fucking, I'm all over it today. I guess before we start This Week in Bullshit, or maybe part of This Week in Bullshit, it's a little both because this is werewolf related. We have been meaning to talk about this. I have been meaning to talk about this for a few shows now, and we keep getting waylaid and I don't.
Okay.
So it's time to rip off the Band-Aid that I've kind of been alluding to, and then we get distracted. BTA's gonna be late. It's progress is coming along, don't get me wrong.
Yep.
But I am behind schedule because life is a thing and it does not always work in your favor. But I thought it was important to get ahead of that and tell you guys now. Because, I take deadlines seriously, and you guys know I take people's time seriously. So I want to make sure that we're ahead of that. I don't want to be the guy that goes, oh, it was supposed to be out 2 weeks ago. What's the problem? And then me tell people. I want to tell you now to expect some delays. Everything's okay. It's still being worked on. It's still happening. I don't know how late it's going to be, but I know it is going to be late, and I would rather be upfront about that. If you know you're going to be late for work, tell people before you're late.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not after you're late.
Exactly.
Hey, boss, I'm going to be late. Well, you were supposed to be here 4 hours ago, so...
Well, so then. I guess I didn't have to call. It's actually good advice for your game, too. If you know you're going to be late to a game, you tell people when you know you're going to be late, not when you're late.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not going to make it, if you're going to be late, let them know as soon as physically possible. It's the least you can do usually, even if it's I just can't make it that day is all you can send.
But yeah, exactly. It's better as soon as you know rather than 5 minutes late.
Right. Yeah, tell everybody. Just make sure everyone knows.
So that's what we're doing, and that's really about the end of it, but it is still being worked on, and I just wanted to keep everyone abreast to what's going on.
Makes sense. It's respectable and courteous of you.
If Porter still manages to hit that year deadline, then hey, big surprise. Congratulations. Look at that.
Yeah, right? How cool would that look? Ain't gonna happen. But I think that's a good thing too, though. In a roundabout way, because do you want the rushed product?
No.
Or do I make sure it's fucking right?
Yeah.
I do want to take a second, though, since people's listening, because, there's a microphone here, to thank these guys for helping out as they have been. It was a couple weeks ago, we did some really nice beta testing with some aspects of the combat system, a couple tweaks to GIFs. A couple weeks ago, CJ and I went down and did a great pass on the revised specialty system. Is it revised? It's somewhat revised, but redefined for certain.
Clarified and actually put how it works.
Yep. So looking at those tribes, we want to make sure we do those tribes right. Will there be tweaks? Will there be changes? Yeah. But we want to make sure they're appropriate. Children Gaia is 85% done, though. And that's fucking great.
That's
I feel
so
really good
awesome.
about the Children Gaia.
Fun.
And hey, real quick, who of the listeners would have thought the Children of Gaia would be the first tribe close to being done with what they know about our opinions of the Children of Gaia?
That's true. No, they are. I started with them. Their role in the new meta it's pretty important.
And then, knowing what that is made sense why you started with it. And it's so cool. It's exciting.
Yes, and thank you. Thank you for that. But so thank you guys for your help, obviously. And it's been a big deal. But that's the quick announcement. And let's move on from BTA to This Week in Bullshit.
This Week in Bullshit. I got something. I know you guys have been waiting because my journey here, but I'm just going to tell you it hasn't happened yet. I have
you're moving.
I am moving again.
Yeah, life's happening.
No, life is just life's happening, and I'm moving again. There are some who's going to be excited. A few handful of people I can think off the top of my head. I'm going to run a quick one-off game. I have a few friends at work, and they have agreed to be part of this and listen to the show if I run them a game. The downside is I have to play a D&D game first.
I don't know why that's a downside, really.
Yeah, that's a lot of people like D&D, myself included.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying
I mean, we did cover his jockness not too long ago.
That's true.
Oh yeah, Danny's a jock. He can't relate to this nerd
Yeah,
shit.
he can't have that nerd shit.
Danny.
You should bring a football.
Oddly enough, my This Week in Bullshit really parallels Danny. I've successfully moved.
Oh wow! So yeah, I'll let you go. I'm just saying it's real quick that I'll be playing a D&D game, and then after that I will be running probably just do a one-off just to get these guys like interested.
Your very first, though. Let's point that out.
Yes, this will be my very first as a storyteller.
His virginal journey into storytelling.
I will.
Exciting.
You're gonna bust the hymen of creativity.
This is where I'm going to ask just 2 questions before we start. Do you have any ideas for your first one-off?
I've got a couple brewing.
Okay.
And I might just steal Porter's from like my first game, because there's there's 3 other guys, so I might just do it that way and then see how it plays out.
I mean,
So just putting just a tip of storytelling.
Just to see how it feels. Yep, just a tip.
All right, Em, I have a follow up. So which one of us is going to end up writing this script for him?
That's gonna be you, Porter.
Probably.
Yeah. And then if he does use the Into the Breach, it's gonna put your own spin on it. And he's like, "What's that?" And you're gonna put your own spin on it. And he's gonna.
That's so true.
But that said, Em, you have This Week in Bullshit that parallels Danny's.
I've successfully moved to Sweden.
Congratulations.
Welcome home.
Yep. Settling in here, cleaning, organizing, getting some new things. Still waiting on my computer, but I've got a desk and a chair for when that does get here. I've got some friends down here, and they play a Warhammer game that I've been invited to try out. And so I've made a Warhammer character that I will be playing.
do you know the actual name of the game, or
Jeff's game.
because there's a few Warhammer games?
Jeff's.
It's called Jeff's. It's
Dark Heresy.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, cool. That's one of the fun ones. You get to play the minions for the KGB.
What?
Yeah. Mix the KGB with the SS and the Gestapo. And you get to play their minions going around and investigating.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I guess.
Yeah.
I work for the
The Inquisition.
Imperium? Inquisition. That's the word. I'm learning still. I'm playing some kind of character called a Psyker because I thought it sounded cool, and it is.
You also get access to one of my favorite mechanics in that game, the Psychic Phenomenon table. It's you use your magic powers and something weird happens. You roll a D100 and there's a table of 100 different effects. If you get above an 80, there's another table of worse effects.
Worse effects, like beneficial to you, or just a negative effect to the enemy?
If I remember correctly, one of them is I get sucked into a void and my character ceases to exist.
There's also another one. If you roll an 80 and then a 100, your character explodes in a fountain of blood, and Satan basically spawns in your location.
There's one that you have to watch all the Michael Bay Transformers movies.
Oh, that would suck so hard.
Right?
Yep. There's others where it's just like everything around you gets covered in a thin coat of oil.
I think I did the worst one already at Siege.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly.
Trying. Yeah.
Like, how are you going to top?
No. I went for one of the minor ones there.
Yeah.
Stop trying to top it. All right, it's bad enough.
So excited to give that a try, even though I know very little about the lore or the world, but something to
Yeah, it's something new to
learn.
try, and you can use that. You can leverage this. yeah, to get them to accept.
Yeah.
Just like I'm doing.
They do take turns storytelling. It could be my turn one day.
And see, now that you've moved, that you officially live there. For you, the I in RAI is for international.
Yeah.
Oh, CJ, you got anything for us?
I do. There's also other game related, but also potentially
Jesus.
new RAI acronym that I've already talked to you about.
You have. Okay, you're talking about this now. All right.
Yeah. So, as everybody knows, if you've been listening to the last few episodes, I've been getting into BattleTech, and I've recently come into the possession of a lot of BattleTech minis. And there's a specific section of the characters you can play that are a basically warrior race, humanity, civilization that's broken off from the rest and is coming back to save everyone. And you can make pilots for your mechs and basically play out their stories through this. So I've been working on a little project of I'm going to start reaching out to a few people on the server or in this call right now and get you to name a mech and a pilot. And you guys are going to get to hear the stories of your characters whenever they go on the table.
So, I can't use the name we talked about earlier when I said the Bushwhackers?
Oh, you could.
Well, but there's already the Bushwhackers, so...
Yeah.
So you gotta come up with something like the
Johnny Football.
footballs.
There is a mech that is painted like a football player. It's called the Gridiron. It is a canon character in the lore.
Oh my God.
Wow.
But no, it's just like a specific mech and just coming up with a name for your pilot and giving them like a D name or something. But it's just going to be a project I'm going to slowly build up before taking it to the local game stores or online and shit. And just occasionally posting what Team RAIS, Rage Across the Inner Sphere, does.
See what you did there?
Rage Across Internet Sphere Dust?
The
Yes.
Inner Sphere does.
Ah!
That's the main setting of it, is an area of space known as the Inner Sphere.
Rage Across the Internet Intersphere.
Rage Across the Inner Sphere. RAIS.
Okay. This makes more sense now. Thank you.
Wow. Not to be outdone,
Yes. What do you got, Porter?
I found a quarter the other day.
Whoa!
Yep. So
Congratulations.
What
A
state
quarter
was
of
it?
what?
I didn't really find a quarter. I just wanted to sound cool. You guys all have interesting things going on, and I felt left out. So.
A quarter of what? Pie? A cheeseburger?
Well, now I want a quarter pounder.
I was good. Yeah, that was the next, because food is on my mind.
I was going to say, does this become the part of the episode where we talk about food and make everybody regret listening to this before lunch?
It's not uncommon for us.
No, it's not.
No.
It's definitely not.
I think the best is when in the Let's Plays, right? During game, when we're all hungry. And like, well, the characters got to eat, and it makes sense to discuss something over dinner or whatever. And then we just get really specific with what,
Well, again, we were talking how detailed you get with like stuff in the story, and that's how you make the world more real. Until you start putting way too much detail into the food, because then we're all hungry.
I mean,
It reminds me of Monster Hunter that has the weirdly good-looking food.
you know what else Monster Hunter has is monsters.
Mm.
And those creatures, they are designed. They have some really interesting creature design, which also happens to be the topic for today's episode. What up, segue? So no, today we are talking creature design, which we haven't done in a while, as Em pointed out to us, which is why we're doing this. Mm-hmm. It was since the 70s? Something like that?
Oh, as far
In a
as
minute.
as far as the number of episodes,
Yes, we weren't, REA has not been around since the 1970s, Danny, with the...
well, I mean, time reverse, we don't know.
Yes, I think we do.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, wow. No, so obviously there's a lot of things, when you're coloring your world. There's the subtle details you throw in. Those can be important. And we talk constantly about show and don't tell. We just came off these postmortems where I gave all this fucking detail. By the way, you can do that by supporting us on the Ko-Fi, ko-fi.com/Rich across the internet. There is no shortage of creatures and monsters and spirits that inhabit the world of darkness. And you got to make them. I mean, this is the bottom line.
Yeah.
There's also plenty of places you can get inspiration for them, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what we're here to do today. But the little before the change episode, I think it was we talked about adding the little dashes, little details, and looking at it from other lenses than the ones we normally do. It's easy to sit here all day and talk about designing Banes.
Right.
Yep.
That's fun. Picking Fomori powers and designing creatures is a very different thing. Like CJ said, they are adjacent, but it's a very different animal. But as much as we could sit here and do, we need to talk about spirits. We're going to hit some wild stuff. We're going to hit some Weaver stuff. We're going to have a good time with this today. And talk Inspirato and personal ideas, the things we tend to lean to.
Well, the one that I've had for a little while that I've been slowly stewing on is, I would say it would probably classify more as a Bane, but it could be a sort of unaligned spirit, since it is a spirit of, I'm going to say a mental disorder. I think that's the correct word. An Alzheimer's spirit. I got this idea from Joker because he had started doing this for his game, and he had found this piece of art that I forgot even existed, but it's this artist who went and did 9 beats of art that were representations of mental disorder. This one is this weird clay-looking, almost skeletal figure with the top half of its head missing.
Oof.
And little clay men just occasionally falling out as this thing is crumbling. All punched in and looking kind of terrified.
Creepy.
I kind of love that.
This was one of those days that I was just driving around, chilling in voice chat and just shooting the shit with people, and Joker was talking about this creature for the game, and I had a different image that came to mind instead. For a similar spirit, maybe not necessarily directly hostile, but just existing as a fact that this condition exists. And my first thought was, no, it's not made of clay. It's a mummy made of film reel.
Oh.
And that film reel is just dragging behind it or floating in the air as like the ends are slowly burning.
Memories fading away kind of thing.
Yep, that memory erasure. And I had the idea of it's just this one creature that occasionally it hangs out in these areas because this is where it's created. It's spawned from that loss of memory, the erasure of identity. It's not outwardly hostile. It is an animal that knows what it's, it knows how to feed. That's all it's doing. It's feeding and making more of itself by just slowly reaching and pulling film from a person to add to its body. Because its body is constantly withering away, constantly fading, because that film is going away. So it's pulling those memories. So as somebody's like decaying in real life and losing that identity, it's just pulling and just feeding. Eventually it'll reach a point where it looks no longer like thin and skeletal, but actually looks more like a full human being up before all that extra, this is to represent that moment of like lucidity, when the person who's been fading this entire time comes back before just falling apart and a new one coming from that mass of film. This whole idea of it playing with those memories, taking the memory, led to a fun little idea for how you encounter this thing. Anytime you're looking at it, anytime you try to do something to it, if you're actively being hostile, you're trying to attack it, you got to make a willpower roll. And if you fail the willpower roll, you forget what you were about to do.
Oh.
And you're just kind of stood there thinking for a moment. If this thing gets close to a Garu to represent the loss of that memory, I have it pull a temporary gnosis from you. So it's something you could get back thanks to your nature as being part spirit yourself. But imagine if you botch that willpower roll and you just mark out a gift for a while. Imagine what a player's reaction to that would be.
I really like this.
That's a cool idea, dude.
And the part that really sold me on this creature, and I'm fucking incensed that I can't use it in my game because 2 of my players were in that call at the time, as I was breaking this thing down, is how this thing moves. It looks like it's walking slowly, like just kind of a shambling, leaning into the mummy imagery.
Yeah.
but it blinks in and out of existence. You know, it looks like it should shuffle about 5 feet every 30 seconds.
So,
But, you know, you get through like one bit of the walk, it blinks, it's 30 feet away. Maybe it covered that distance, you just don't remember.
Kind of like in The Ring,
Kind of, yeah.
That shattering.
which is great.
yeah.
And like, if I had to
you
stat
agree
this
too,
thing
Danny.
out,
It's just creepy.
and if I had to stat this thing out, they would be very, very frail. They're just hard to deal with because you're constantly forgetting what you're doing and or forgetting this thing even exists. And this is why, like, in my mind, it's not a hostile creature. This could even be like, this is one of those instances of like, this is a bane in the terms of this is a worm spirit in the form of it's an entropy spirit. It's not a corrupted spirit. It's not outwardly evil or aggressive. It's just existing. Now, you know, if you sense worm and you go to kill it, it will actively start defending itself. It will actively start attacking, or it might just be hunting for food.
Well,
This thing is not malicious.
but let's take that to the next step though,
Yeah.
because what does one of these look like once they are worm corrupted? Right, like it can just be a spirit, right? The
Yeah.
idea, but this, we take this and let's change the shift a little bit, and this is now a worm aligned spirit that is, a mind taker, if you will, who is gaining power by, I swear to Christ, there's something similar that deals with the Macaulay.
Okay.
It sounds
Something that was
familiar.
tainting the nemesis or something. It's a vague mem- You know me and my fucking Farah. But it actually might be the corrupted version of the Macaulay who are intentionally inserting false memories and taking the nemesis. I might be, twisting shit here. But this idea, right? Instead of starts with the idea for me with Alzheimer's. But what if the corrupted version is there to steal memories? There's the natural. We're using the word natural here.
Yeah.
That you're calling, but this is like a malicious that's feeding off of people's memories and hunting that way, and intentionally stealing joyful memories
I was going to go, yeah. That's what I was going to
Okay.
say.
or removing choice bad memories. And when I say this, I mean by doing so leads you in a position to where you don't correct something bad.
Okay.
That would
I just had
keep
a
you from correcting harmful behavior because it's diminishing the negative aspects of it by eating those memories.
Or keep you
See-
from remembering something that's like, I should avoid this. Like, when a spouse goes back to their abuser.
Yes, that's exactly what I
They
was
remember
thinking.
the good times.
Yes,
Yeah. Instead of remembering the bad.
right.
That's really cool. Was kind of spawning in my brain as you were saying that was it could even take a memory of yours and use it against you if you were to try to fight it. So it could reveal itself as your dead grandfather or spouse or your packmate. And whenever you go to attack it, it's suddenly somebody you care about.
And maybe that's the other thing it can do, right? Is it feeds off maybe those good memories and supplants shittier versions of, your bad memories. It enhances them so it sticks on your psyche longer. It's the girlfriend that cheated on you in high school that you somehow aren't over 10 years later. It's because of this Bane who is just feeding that acrimony and making it just fucking stay with you.
And it just sticks it to the front of your mind at all damn times. It
Changing
won't go
this thing-
away.
Yeah, changing this thing's appearance just a little bit. I can imagine like one hand has like these heavy duty, like old iron scissors. And here it is just pulling out this reel of film, doing the whole like looking at it and just snipping away a few key points before putting it back or attaching points.
I see that while it's working, and here's the thing: is it works while its target is sleeping, right? But now I also see maybe when you're confronting it, this is fun. When you're confronting it in the Umbra, right? You're gonna go fight this thing. It's maybe its face like an old 8mm or film reel, right?
Yep.
It just keeps spinning, and like you get the little line for the individual frame, and like the image of the face can change or will change and contort to be associated with that bad memory, that thing that you fear, the abusive grandfather, or the lost love who died horribly, or the, you know, or whoever. So what you're looking at is the face of the thing that's just the worst for you.
Yup. I can imagine if this thing can get its hands on you and like put a memory back. Like a perfect example, if the Dream Chasers were going against it, that fucking argument in the rain, all those emotions, just, you know, touching Ricochet, and that flashes through Pisma.
Oh God,
that frenzy.
It reaches into your head and pulls. It's like spider webs with these film reels.
Yep.
Playing what it wants to.
Right, like maybe
keeping out the parts that will calm you down, and only giving you things that are going to make you like frenzy or distracted.
How about we go puppet strings? It doesn't have to like physically pull it out like that. It just touches the finger, and like that strand of film comes out, where if it touches multiple, it gets multiple strands to look like puppets.
Yeah.
What about is
Look at what we did.
what about is if it's even more corrupted? It starts implanting different memories that don't belong there, that you shouldn't remember, but like you swear that this is what happened.
It goes from the taking and repressing and goes into the editing phase.
Just as the corruption gets darker and more progressed.
I'd imagine this is as the thing gets more powerful, as it feeds more. It can only take, then it can start putting back.
Well, like a hex pig is to a skull pig.
Yeah.
Lots of failed willpower checks to make that happen.
And imagine just your players walking around, heading to a choice area where, you know, hey, Garou exists kind of halfway in the spirit world at all times because they are part spirit. Imagine, you know, the pack's just sitting around eating. Maybe there's a nursing home across the street. One of them catches the attention of a spirit in the Umbra. Hey, mark off a gnosis. What's your pack's reaction to that?
Well, I think the rub is, I think the players or the characters don't react to that at all. But the players start asking questions and freaking out a little. Probably asking questions more than freak out. They should be freaking out a little bit.
Unless it happens a little bit more frequently.
Well, it's like, why? Don't worry about it.
And
no, but why? No, but don't worry about it.
I could imagine some of these being made also as like a variant, being purposely made for information gathering. You know, going out and hunting specific memories.
Oh, yeah.
Well, at that point, I wonder, and we're kind of going into something different, but I mean, that's fine. At that point, I see that almost being a designer bane, something Pentex would cook up, because for some reason, not for some reason, the Garou are naturally resistant to these particular spirits.
Yeah, because you can just get your gnosis back.
Right, well, and also, I mean, they are part spirit, so maybe they have a higher tolerance. Maybe it doesn't work on Garou.
Okay.
And so they're making these designer ones to work on Garou so they can do things like learn the location of cairns.
Ooh.
Because those would be the kind of memories you'd want to pluck from a Garou. Where's your cairn? Who's your daddy? What's their fucking... Is he rich like me?
What does he do?
Yeah, who's your daddy and what does he do? Fucking...
What do we need to do to get through your security?
Exactly.
All the while, hey, maybe one of the elders is starting to forget that specific ritual that's meant to keep the cairn guardian spirits, you know, happy and willing to help.
Well, and there's going to be a good segue, and we can roll back to whatever we want to. But this feels about right. As you talk about cairn spirits, there are a lot of obvious ones, right?
Sure.
I mean, we talk about Owl, we talk about Fenris, we know what those are. Couple months ago, we talked about in a postmortem, there was a dealing with Rat.
Okay, yeah.
Who, in this particular script, formed with a bunch of rats, plague of rats. I don't know what the name of what's the proper name? Doesn't matter. Running together, and their shadows piled up and gave life to Rat.
Capital R.
Yeah,
Rat.
like they piled up, and the shadow of their pile grew eyes and moved off of the wall.
Yeah, it was cool.
And so what we're talking here, and this is part of creature design, because obviously we know what a rat looks like, but you want to give some gravitas toward your spirits, especially your totems, isn't so obvious. Owl just appearing on a fucking tree. Okay, We all get that, and I think we all accept it. And it's fucking owl, so it's probably majestic all by itself anyway. We don't really need, right? I mean, you can do other stuff, but you don't need to, because owl's just that much of a pimp that he can just do that and get away with it.
Right.
Like, if you had to give him more of an entrance, I would go with the, like, a massive shadow covering the pack for a moment as it flies in over to land on the branch silently, because that's what owls do.
Sure. I was thinking more along the lines of something like, say, mosquito.
Okay.
I mean, because I want to get off the beaten path.
No, I
Right.
get it. I see it. Like a swarm of mosquitoes. You start clumping into one big one, and then it's a shape of a mosquito.
And that's what I was thinking, like but like a kaiju-sized mosquito.
Holy fuck.
Like it's not a little stinger thing. It's like a goddamn Damascus.
I could see that. I could also see just a massive cloud of these things, and the voice that it speaks to you in is the buzzing of the wings.
Oh, I like that.
That's a good one.
And that comes
that
off
buzzing
of,
sound like next to your ear when a mosquito or something flies by.
Yeah.
But amplified by like 6,000.
and somewhere
Maybe
between the vibration
like
and
it.
the sound, you can just understand it. Ooh, yeah. And again, this is coming off of, Scratch and Wolf here. That idea that in my games is the cairn, except to the Scratching Wolf, that, mosquito was the totem over, was the idea that part of that defense system was the mosquito landing on your arm, followed by another and another. And you get swarmed, and if you swat at them, they all fucking bite you. So you just have to let them land on you and hang out for a second. Decide that you're cool, and then they'll leave.
Yep.
Do they belong here? We'll see.
Yeah.
Oh,
See if
fucking.
they know what's up. Land
Or are you
on
going to lose a pint of blood?
Right.
Oof.
I think there was that one where y'all built a cairn with like trapdoor spider as the
Yep.
totem.
Remember that?
And it was like the cobwebs everywhere just hanging. But like most of the cairn was actively hidden. Not just like, out of sight, out of mind, but no, like disguised to blend in with the actual surroundings.
I was very afraid that you were going to suggest that Trapdoor Spider would communicate by weaving words into the web like goddamn Charlotte.
Oh no.
I was very afraid you were,
Web.
because you can't do that. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Trapdoor spiders.
I mean, you could do whatever you want, but it's probably not
No,
the best idea.
no, you can't. Charlotte's Web ruined that fuck. You can't do it.
Yeah.
No.
Because once again, as soon as you do it, everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, Charlotte's Web."
Right? Now the game's over.
Yeah.
Fucking hack. Oh.
I will say there is a spirit in my old Wild West game that is not a cairn spirit, but is directly linked to the defense of the cairn. And it was this idea of a spirit that started off as a gaffling.
Okay.
Yeah, just a little fire gaffling. And because of it being the Wild West, this, cairn in America was originally a Croatan cairn. Some Theurge at some point had built this little campfire with the spirit linked to it in this little shrine area. And from the day that totem or that little fire spirit was brought here, that fire has been fed nonstop. When the Croatan did their sacrifice and the Uktena came, they found the campfire only at embers. They spent the time, slowly built it back up, adding stories to the cave walls, dedication to the spirit. And just over time, it's slowly grown in power as the dedication and everything has been paid to this thing. And a good Theurge will understand the situation kind of just by sight. And are you going to let that powerful of a spirit go away if it's been fed for this long? So when the Wormcomers came, they've been keeping this tradition alive. The pack has helped with this tradition in the original Wild West without ever actually asking what this is. But when a moot came around and a 3-story tall fire element came and joined the spirit, like it didn't just appear with the pack, it appeared with the cairn totem. And this is one of those things of like, if the cairn was ever actively attacked, the spirit would attempt to manifest to burn the attackers in the area. And it's just this little fire spirit.
This is, we're going to piggyback off that. I think this is becoming Spirit Edition. You're saying that, and you hit me, you just hit me with some inspiratus. Because now we were talking about specific fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what about, and I remember some years ago, I was helping somebody with their Chronicle, and I maybe it's one of you. I don't remember. It's been a few years, but it was the idea of the spirit of a particular fire.
Okay.
Like the big bakery fire of Aught 12 or whatever. Right. And it was the spirit of that because the legend never went away. And when on the legend, it was a fucking, tragedy in this particular town kind of thing. So, you look at something specific like that, right? To where maybe it was, the school fire of 1906, which is going to be local lore. It's going to be people talk about that. People know about that, especially smaller towns. Like a fucking school burned down in 1906 in Manhattan. I don't think that anyone gives a fuck.
Yeah, there's like a moment of silence in the school.
Right. But if it's a town of like 5,000 people,
they're all going to remember it, and that story's going to live on forever.
Right. Despite the fact that no one here has anything but, So like you get the idea, right? Let's say that it's like a school fire, 5 kids died in this school fire. And so you can manifest that spirit. I mean, not materialize, but when you in the Umbra.
Yeah.
Is like 5 kids holding hands on fire.
I was going to say, kids like walking up to you that are just made of flame.
Right. Or like directly on fire. And maybe they're not holding hands. Maybe, but the 5 of them are like the sum totality of the spirit. So maybe like here's Carly crouched down eye to eye with this child looking spirit, right? Trying to level with it and being a good thurge, meet it on its level. And then another one shows up behind her to finish the sentence of the first one.
And instead of the sound of crackling fire, it's just like children's screams.
I also love the idea of it opening its mouth and crackling fire is the sound that comes out.
Yeah.
Like both of those.
Yeah. What if instead of the holding hands, you can only find this spirit at the school's location in the Umbra? And what if they're actively playing on the playground nonstop as the fire is dancing and crackling, going between each in that constant state of motion?
That'd be pretty badass too.
You just got them leaving those char and burn marks everywhere.
But there we go, right? Is we take the particulars of the events surrounding the thing and you incorporate it into the thing.
It's one of those things of, especially with this, like, no, these aren't the spirits of the kids.
No, it's just the form.
The fire's taking.
Yeah, the fire of Aught 6. This is specifically the spirit of the fire of Aught 6.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a fire spirit.
Just like the one in the Mountain Shadow is, I called it the Everflame because, that is this thing's name. When a spirit gets a name, that's usually...
Well, at that point, it's like, it's not, I mean, it is, but it isn't, unlike a city mother or father.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a solid point. Yeah, because we had that. We had a lot of fun with that one.
We did have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember when we did it.
It was real early.
Because I know I on the fly designed the Detroit City Father, and I thought I nailed it. I just don't remember. Because again, I did it off the cuff. So.
Yeah.
What did I say? I didn't think about or plan this whatsoever.
Maybe we should go more into like the Weaver side of things with, hey, City Father, what kind of spirits might we find in a city that would be interesting to play with? Part of my first gut instinct is what could we do with the prevalence of like cabbies in New York and some of the shit that goes on with those. Like I can imagine a spirit of, be it travel or some particular type of travel that is your fare through the umbral reflection of this city. Like the only safe way to get from point A and B is to trek with this one particular spirit, sort of like Cat Bus from Totoro.
Okay. I like that concept.
And this is where I'm just like spinning stuff out to see if somebody gets inspired.
No, bear with me on that. Also, I'm going to ask you guys out there. I have not been to Manhattan in like a little over a decade. Do they still
have taxis?
Well, I mean, are they still as prevalent as they used to be?
I have no idea.
Well, why would you know? I'm not asking you.
Been to New York before?
When?
I mean, I was probably.
Was it this century?
No.
Okay.
No, maybe. Hold on. Thinking.
Were the trade centers still there?
Yes.
Good question.
So, no.
No, they weren't. No. So it was. I was in high school. How about that?
How about?
Well, then
it's still
why?
in like every movie, or it's still in every movie and or show that depicts New York.
But I think my point is, if I said I haven't been there in about a decade, and you're like, well, I haven't been there in way longer, so I can answer your question. So I got to ask, I haven't been to New York in a little over a decade. Are the camps, are they still as prevalent as they used to be? I figure these days with Ubers and Lyfts and shit like that, our standard yellow cabs maybe aren't as prevalent as they used to be. Which is, I think, kind of a shame, because it was so, I don't want to say it was so New York, but it was definitely a kind of a staple.
There might be a way to take it. What does that do to that spirit?
Well, it slowly fades out that way.
I think maybe it gets, for lack of a better term, more stereotypical. And let me try to back that up and explain that. It's something that I have spoken about before. I'm not sure if it's on the air, but I've definitely talked about it, is the concept of the anvil. The anvil today is mostly known as the thing that falls on Wile E. Coyote.
Yes.
Because we just don't use them in daily life anymore. They're not a part of our just standard world. So people really only have reference from them, not as a fucking tool for blacksmithing, but as something to hit the cartoon. And even that is starting to go away because Looney Tunes are no longer prevalent.
Right.
Right? We have such a huge lexicon of goddamn cartoons that it's not a given that you grew up with Bugs Bunny and the Tasmanian Devil. There's just so much shit out there, right? It was a given once upon a time. So even that understanding of an anvil is the prop for the cartoon is starting to fade away. So I would posit that regardless of the amount of yellow cabs that are actually running down 53rd and 3rd right now, that the concept of them through movies and television would keep that alive to the extent that an umbral representation of that would be straight out of that, an extreme of that kind of stereotype of the, hey, I'm walking here, of Benny the Cab from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Ah, yes.
Or the Ghost of Christmas Past from Scrooge.
Oh, yeah.
A bunch of honking.
Yep.
Anytime they're going to stop, it's just before they hit you.
Exactly. And every time they accelerate, it's pedaled through the floor instantly.
I could imagine some glasswalkers, or no, probably Bonars having fun getting around the umbral reflection of the spirit world here, as the glasswalkers just hate it because it's not as it's not as up to date. It's all over the place. It's stopping just before you get it. It's accelerating immediately. Where the Bonars are going to be having more fun with this. They're going to lead into that stereotype.
Well, and I like the idea of umbral cabbies, especially out of New York. Because the area, right, is so vast. So clearly you're going to need to get somewhere quicker. So the idea of an umbral subway / cabbies, especially with this, again, with the spiritual resonance and how tied those concepts are to the area, I could see those happening. And again, the appearance wise, and we're talking about creatures that's be fucking better, right? I think maybe more along the lines of either Benny the Cab from Who Framed Roger Rabbit or the Johnny Cabs from Total Recall.
Okay.
You remember those? Where it's like the mannequin upper half torso without the arms even. So it's just the head and it would like spin around and talk to you. And just to add to the concept, right? What if they intentionally take the long way to wherever you're going?
Yep.
So like if you're the Get a Fenris from out of town or something, it's taking forever and you're getting frustrated. But maybe the savvy glasswalker or Bonar can go, hey, no, take the BQE. Don't fuck with me on this.
Because they know better.
Because they know better.
Or at the same time, this is the safest route they're taking you on because, hey, they got to get you there. It might take a little time. So the person who is like, come on, go this way. I know the way. Go this way. Okay, it's going to take you through the miniature blight that's in the city.
Well, I think they're intentionally, I don't think it's about safety. I think it's about their fare, which would be Gnosis. They're charging you Gnosis.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I
Because
like
cabs,
that.
right? It fits with the theme. They're charging you, so they want to take the longer way to increase the fare. So, like, right, you picture, like, the regular cab, right? Maybe with webbing details. Instead of, like, the checker pattern, it's, like, webbed pattern. And you get in, and the driver's seat itself spins. And it's just a torso and a face coming out of the seat. Where we going, buddy? I ain't got all day.
I could imagine it still having the steering wheel there that spins, but it is just like a weird pattern spider almost spread out itself to lean more into like the this Weaver imagery and just imagine like it's a separate entity in the cab itself. If not part of the same entity, just something else you can communicate with.
Jesus, look at this thing that we're building, right? Some fucking set dressing for New York.
And then there's also part of me that's thinking of a similar line with the cabbie spirit, but taking it more for going back a couple years / leaning more into some of the stereotypes of it's the cabbie that always knows the word around the street, you know, because they talk to everybody, they get all kinds of people, they always have these stories. I can almost imagine in major cities like New York, where like each neighborhood might as well be a different city at times.
Sure.
I can almost imagine like one of these cabbie-esque spirits being like a miniature city father or mother for that neighborhood. You want to know something that's going on there, you go seek out that spirit. They have all the information you want. It's just, come on, let's take a ride.
Well, see, you talk about that for a second. I think the New York City mother, and I had a conversation with a member on our Discord about California recently.
Okay.
About the different areas and in terms of city parentage, and the idea that, maybe there are lesser spirits.
Yeah.
And like we're keeping this in Manhattan right now. You know, it's like, oh, hey, this is Soho, and there's the Soho city cousin or uncle or whatever. Just, we're not using that term, but just for the concept.
Here's the Dewey Tripla city mother.
Yes.
But I can imagine in some places the city mother or father is like the boss running the racket spirits. Like they're having to pay lip service to the big spirit.
Well, I mean, because they have to, because they're part of it, really.
Yeah, exactly.
The boroughs are significant enough that they should have something, but again, that it should all come together to make the city mother. It's a city mother in New York. I don't give a shit. There is none % chance.
Exactly.
I will not hear another argument.
It's also one of those things of like, it helps you play with that concept of the city father or mother for a city without quite bringing in a spirit of that level. It's just an avatar of it, basically.
And every town there is, like even smaller towns have that, you know, that's the bad neighborhood, or
That's true.
well, you know, this is downtown. Even small towns have like specific areas with feelings around them, and if you go like 3 or 4 blocks away, the vibe changes.
No, you're 100%. Like
Yes.
let's okay.
I see it in your face
everywhere, you know, like every city has a city father, city mother. Like even some fucking somewhere like, I don't know, Lapeer, Michigan, who 6 people have heard of and 5 of them live there. That was a little mean. Lapeer's not that obscure.
I was gonna say Lapeer's actually a little bit bigger.
I was gonna go with hell, but it felt like such a fucking low hanging fruit.
It is. It's kind of low hanging.
Yeah.
Yes, Hell, Michigan's real. You can become the mayor for $5. It's a whole thing.
It's fucking weird.
It is. Its whole existence is that we're called hell, and we can make a couple bucks off that.
Yes.
I mean, there's plenty of small towns no one's ever heard of everywhere.
Right.
Right. And if that has a city father or a city mother, then you cannot tell me
Right.
that fucking Tribeca doesn't have anything. It's absurd.
Absolutely absurd. Yes.
And because we're talking creature design, we're talking spirit design. We've talked about designing those city mothers and fathers, but a long time ago. So when you're doing that, you know, make sure you're thinking about the history of the place. You're thinking about the demographics of the place. Is there a predominant type of person that lives there? Is Chinatown here? Guess what? Incorporate Chinese elements into the design, because Chinatown's the big deal here, right? Is there a huge Greek population? We have Greek town.
Yeah, I mean, hell, we've in the big city that I'm not too far away from, we have a little Seoul, like Little Korea.
Nice.
See? So you would want to incorporate.
Don't go crazy with it.
Don't go crazy, but add some of that flourish. Again, is it a richer neighborhood? Is it a poorer neighborhood? And that informs of how dirty or banged up the spirit looks. You know, if it's that brand new affluent, you know, neighborhood, don't even necessarily have to be brand new, just consistently affluent, right?
Yes.
You want to keep it shiny and bright, and, you know, it can't breathe poor people there, and you want to incorporate that into the design.
And like, I'm like trying to think of, okay, like how would I design the city father for Houston, big city that I know. Part of me thinking of like, if I had to design the getup of this city father, it would be the cowboy boots, probably the more buttoned up John Dutton style shirt and like outfit, the slacks, the button up shirt, but definitely a lot more patches than actual shirt, because this is a city that's constantly being rebuilt and torn back down in different areas. Instead of a cowboy hat, I'd go with a baseball hat, and wear like a "Hello, my name is" tag, but in the style of a Easy Tag. The tollway cameras get it.
Okay.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
I will say my last experience in Texas, that your toll roads are egregious, and I fucking blame you personally. It's been a few years, but I remember, and I was so mad. But no, yeah, with the city father, yeah, you definitely want to keep in mind all those little things. And the other thing that you really can't put your foot on, and what makes designing city parents for places you don't know extra difficult, is the general feel and milieu of a city. We might have trouble doing it, Danny, but I think we can both describe the smell of Detroit.
Oh, yes. Yes, I can.
And it's the same way like with New Orleans. You know, one of the first things I think of is the scent, right? The kicks in the air that breeze off the Mississippi. And the way that if you're close enough to Bourbon Street after dark or near sunset, you can hear all the bands start playing, and like the jazz and rock and roll all kind of mixed together.
That sounds
the jazz
awesome.
and the blues, and it just kind of mills through the fucking streets and echoes. And it's that kind of thing. You tell I have a fucking feeling. I feel a thing about that city. But you want to integrate that. You know, you add those senses in, that maybe, you know, before you see the spirit of the city, you can make that smell. Cigarette smoke and salt air. You know, just kind of wafting together and maybe encircling the area, and you can hear the faint playing. You know, the horns and the trumpets and the saxophone is fucking city parent just comes through this haze of smoke. You know, of cigarette smoke from all the fucking bars that you probably can't smoke in anymore.
Oh, man. That's...
Well, there are still some places that you can smoke in. I went to Oklahoma a couple of months ago, and we went to a bar, and it was a smoking bar.
Whoa.
I don't know if that's specifically an Oklahoma thing, but there were definitely people smoking cigarettes in the bar.
Was it a members only thing?
Some places you can get away.
I visited the bar in Oklahoma, and I wasn't a member.
Right, but you can be a guest of a member.
Man, I'm just getting images, you know, and stuff like, you know, you lean into. I just have this vision of an old man city father with a fucking pool cue as a walking stick.
Ooh, okay, that's cool,
right?
I mean, I'm a fan of billiards, so.
Alligator skin shoes.
You know, but
Now, what if we have a city father, or city mother from a town that is maybe overrun with addicts and, you know, succumb to a bit of the worm?
well, I think, you know,
Like a meth town.
when you said drug, I immediately pictured. First of all, I think you want those scrawny junkie arms,
Yeah.
Track marks.
but no, fuck the track marks
Okay.
with the syringes hanging out.
Oh, fuck. Okay, yeah. I mean, gross, but yes.
Marks whenever it's right out there.
Right? They're just dangling off the fucking arm like a fucking wind chime. In fact, I would incorporate that
Got
too.
those.
That they would clang together and make like a rhythm. Is the spirit moved?
Ooh.
And instead of like a sickly pale skin, it's just all like meth lab burn skin.
Ooh.
Gross,
Like that,
but
you know,
yes.
that burn texture that you get from like
Uh-huh.
No,
meth
tell
lab
us
explosion.
about your
It's got a really specific look. Look it up. It's got a real specific look.
Well,
Like
just
all the skin is made up of that like burn.
How many teeth are you missing, Em?
One.
Actually,
Just kidding. I was just
Why not?
kidding.
imagine that every time the spirit talks, teeth are just falling.
Oh shit.
Turning
Yeah.
like powder as they hit the ground.
I love that, and it's the thing is it never runs out. Right.
Yeah.
Like it just keeps happening. It's not like there's 12 teeth and once the 12 are gone, that's No, it's like a waterfall. I mean, more like a trickle, maybe a drip. But the point is
Like,
that it
there might
doesn't
be
stop
12
or run
teeth,
out.
but then
Right, but
every time it closes
it's
its mouth,
always
they
12
return.
teeth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. Like it falls out, but then closes the mouth, opens it, and all 12 are still there. I like that.
Some aspect of its clothing is made of like that dirty, wadded up money kind of texture.
Okay, yeah.
Because, like just well used in look too.
Maybe we incorporate as a decoration on its clothes, like tassels, but like the tube when you tie it off.
I'd give it as a necklace, honestly.
Well, at that point, it'd be more like a noose, right? Because it's got to be tied to sell the point.
The town's dying.
It's like an ascot.
Yeah, like a little bolo tie.
But like empty baggies. This is like plastic, just shredded.
Every step sounds like broken glass stepped on vials. I think we're not describing a city parent at this point. We're just describing an addiction spirit.
Yeah.
Look at what we did by
I feel like
accident.
the city itself would have just addiction banes everywhere.
Everywhere.
It would smell like sickly sweet. That smell of like rotten garbage that's like almost sweet, but it's sickening.
Yes.
Would have that smell about it.
Disgusting.
Yep. And now since we kind of we took a
shifted
turn
a little.
here. We shifted it.
That's fine.
Right. That's not but these are still good things. I mean, they're not good things, but these are fun. Like you don't want
Good
this.
creature
Don't
design.
Yes.
don't put needles. Don't do that. Don't shoot up. But we can go to variants of that too, where we'll take one from Nightmare on Elm Street 3, where the fingertips are syringes of these spirits. Or again, piggybacking from Nightmare on Elm Street 3, where there are track marks, but they're like little mouths
Yeah.
that are just moving, like, feed me.
Or they're calling out your like deepest desires.
Or all the memories you want to forget. All the stuff you don't want to think about. Just
No, see, I think that's the wrong way to go because, right, the idea with the spirits, right, is it wants you to succumb.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to talk about the euphoria, right?
true.
Remember all the good times.
Right. Drugs are awesome. They make you look good and die young.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. Your teeth fall out. Don't do drugs, kids.
I was gonna say, should that be the wraparound?
No, it should not. Don't do drugs, kids.
That's the wraparound?
Nancy Reagan said no. I know you don't know who that is, but
Showing your age there.
I know you don't know who that is. Perfect. Now let's. I mean, we talked a little Weaver, not much. Wow, but we should move our focus over that a little bit too. Now with Weaver spirits, the obvious choice is spider. We want to go arachnid. That's the obvious thing. There are other ways we can go too to try to change things. I mean, we have the Geomid, right? Which I think are neat in concept. I want to stay away from spiders today. No spiders in Weavertown. We've mentioned one or two already. We're done though.
That's fair.
Because, hunter spiders like the fucking pillbox droids in the Star Wars, only more spidery. Great, we did it.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Done. Yep,
Yeah.
that's it.
We know little patterned spiders, but this one can be rusty because it's... Shut up.
Let's go more geometric. Let's go technological, code.
Well, and let's also go contemporary,
Okay.
more modern day without still being on the cutting edge, because of course it's me.
Okay.
And you know how I love to set my games in the 90s. So how about Clippy?
Oh, the fucking
The Microsoft Helper paperclip.
the
Yes.
paperclip
Yeah.
with the fucking eyes.
Yeah.
I was thinking
Okay.
of something similar with like an information spirit that takes the form of like ASCII art on the screen.
See, that's where I was. It's exactly where I was going to go with Clippy. Actually, is that information spirit? Also, and this is kind of one of my favorites. Like personally, Ask Jeeves.
Oh, so it's just a butler just
Yeah.
handing you information.
Right.
What about the circuit board? Green and gold for circuit board.
Okay. I mean, something, right?
Green coating just going up and down.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, it feels too Matrix.
But like, also I see him like it's just the skin. What if he's wearing stuff?
Well, see, I think the green and gold, like you were saying, CG, I think that would work for the attire.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
I have an idea that's drawing inspiration from another source.
Sure.
There's a book series that I'm super into that deals with kind of spirit-like entities like this. And one of them is Spirits of Lies that they look humanoid, and instead of a head, they have a constant shifting mandala pattern.
Interesting.
It's like a little spiral of like all these geometric mathematical patterns. The more you look at it, the more you start noticing details that get more and more and more like fine, and you can never actually find the start or end of the pattern. And eventually you just have a headache from looking at this thing for too long.
Okay, two things. Okay, what if instead of a head, right, it's a monitor?
Okay.
And it has a constant string of data, like coding, going through it, and it answers your questions, right, or emotes through the negative space in the coding.
Okay.
Like the opposite of ASCII art.
Okay.
Also, for those of you who don't know, because I did not express this, and there are probably people who don't know, Ask Jeeves was an alternative to Google, where you would ask an internet butler to Google something for you.
Yes.
It's so absurd. That's why I love it. It's like you could just go to Google and do it, and it would give you the results. But you go to Ask Jeeves, and Jeeves would give you Google results.
Yep.
So what the fuck are you doing here?
There was also
What if this information
Dogpile.
spirit is based off of, the Ask Jeeves stuff, but because it's gone, because not many people probably remember it now, it's slow. It takes forever. The screen flashes in and out every now and then. There's a couple dead pixels here and there.
Oh, that'd be neat too.
That's a cool one.
Yeah. He's got like the full butler uniform that instead of like pinstriping, it is that gold circuit board pattern. And it's just, slowly fraying, little connection points are broken. It's just honestly a spirit that is too eager and happy when somebody actually comes to ask it a question.
What I like about this too is it can be both at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on how, obviously like a region or what specific type of information, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like
yeah.
you can have like one of each type next to each other. I like that about it.
What you said earlier, CJ, with the head that was like shifting, kind of reminded me of those puzzles, that you have to like put the shape in the right spot. Open the box.
The
You know what I'm
square
talking
goes
about?
in the square hole.
Not exact.
Like the puzzle boxes where you have to like press something.
Like the
to a certain
3D little,
amount.
it's like you got to connect the links together at just the right way or else they'll never go back to being connected.
Yeah.
Okay.
In order to get information out, you have to like solve this complex geometric shape in a really specific way in order to get your answers. Kind of playing into like the information of the Weaver.
And now I'm thinking of an encryption spirit that would work like a Rubik's Cube.
Nice.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Rubik's Cube. Like a puzzle box. To get into it, you have to like solve the pattern or solve whatever the
Or
puzzle
you
is.
have to speak to it in actual code.
Or else the Cenobites come.
And if you don't
The
do
box.
it fast enough, the puzzle changes. And
You
have to
opened
you have
it.
to do it again. Start at the beginning.
I'm trying to think of another Weaver Alliance spirit we could hit. Or
Right.
another, like we hit like the search engine basically / information and encryption. What about a virus? Like a programming virus?
No, I was with you.
So like an actual Trojan horse.
The first thing I thought was the viruses from Dr. Mario.
Okay.
And if you are not familiar with that reference, I don't know that this one will be any better. But the Moonanites from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. That 8-bit Atari 2D looking motherfucker. Right. And that it slowly multiplies as you speak with it
Yeah.
and tries to get closer to you, which at what point will infect you, right? Ideally. Right. So when dealing with this spirit, you have to keep your distance,
Yeah.
and it's going to try to trick you to get closer.
I would say you could almost play into like the classical interpretation of the Fae of it's trying to trick you into agreeing to something that you don't quite like, make you say a specific phrase to get you to basically like the equivalent of like, the ad that puts the X on the ad itself. So you have to click on it because the X hasn't shown up on the other side yet.
I get what you're saying. I think, and I think in that respect, I'm with you. But I think you got to be careful with that too, because Weaver spirits are not like other spirits insofar as bartering or trying to trick. Only works so far. I mean, they're much colder spirits, They work on routine. I mean, by nature, they're not going to be overly creative in their dealings with you. 1 + 1 is 2. That's it.
Yeah.
These are the parameters of which I work, and you can't really fuck with that.
Right. It's just ones and zeros.
Kind of, right? And I mean, there's obviously some wiggle room based on the type of spirit, but a Weaver aligned spirit is still a Weaver aligned spirit. We've talked somewhat recently about different types of fire spirits. We did earlier today, but that's not what I mean. Like we were talking in terms of Howl's Moving Castle, right? Like Billy Crystal is the fire spirit. And there's not going to be a Weaver version of Billy Crystal, is what I'm saying. That's my point. Robin Williams is not voicing shit. But if he were, he wouldn't be voicing a Weaver spirit.
No, he's a wild spirit. There's no doubt about
right.
that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, that's, like your specific example. Like I was gonna brush up against you with that from right. And then you did the example with the accent. It's like, no, that one's really good. That's a really good example of where that's an exception to what I'm fucking talking about. Good job. But again, it has to be within that kind of parameter, right?
Right.
It makes it tougher because creativity is a little harder with Weaver spirits because of the nature of the cold, static, kind of boring nature of Weaver spirits.
It'd be like dealing with a rules lawyer almost.
Yeah, kind of. Or someone who would actually you.
I wonder if people can hear the head shake.
I would indeed play a really good Weaver spirit. I'm going to be honest.
I think you could. I'd like to see what that looks like.
You know what? I know last time we talked about like a worm corrupted Weaver spirit. Maybe we play on the opposite, and what starts happening when the wild starts getting a foothold in an area?
I see.
Like a glitch, almost.
Yeah, it's like so something's glitching. Like let's go back to the guy with the ones and the zeros and the green code, right? Mm-hmm. Like the Matrix style here with the skin.
Okay.
But all of a sudden, you start seeing random other numbers in there, and they're different colors. And then it starts flickering, and then like there's a 5, but it's like blue, and then there's a red 7. He's starting to get corrupted. Not corrupted. He's starting to get entangled, I guess, with wild.
So this idea wouldn't fit into the 90s, but it would fit into more modern day with AI.
Mm-hmm.
As you're like requesting information, talking to this Weaver spirit, perhaps it starts giving you like false information or something that's just slightly changed. That image isn't quite right. Something's wrong about it. And it might take you a little bit of a second to notice it. But if it's being corrupted by the Weaver, that artificial intelligence that you're communicating with, Weaver spirit, could be getting slightly changed. Kind of with those ads that you see online with, oh, this bear broke into the hospital. But it's just AI generated clickbait.
I will say I did have something similar pop into my head of a sort of scene where, a glasswalker is going to talk to one of these information spirits they use all the time. Well, if, they start talking with it, somebody doesn't quite notice that, like, the coat on Jeeves is a little frayed at the edges. And Jeeves feeds him bad information, not because of a glitch, not because of some weird AI thing. No, because Jeeves figured out, I can lie now. I can be creative.
Yeah. I think we've talked about this, CJ. Mm-hmm. I feel pretty strongly we have, because it was one of my ideas in terms of BTA is a glitch in the Weaver.
Mm-hmm.
That aspects of the internet have created, and I don't know that I'm running with this.
It's an idea.
Yeah, I don't know if I should be talking about it. With that idea of, because I was branching out to the idea of the Weaver equivalent to Black Spiral dancers that were created via, we were calling them the subroutines or the processors or something. It always bothered me that there wasn't a hierarchy for the Weaver like there is for the worm. And like you think of like how a computer works, and it's weird that it doesn't have things that are just dedicated to do certain things. And so, like, but what if those existed and we just don't know about it, right? We can make that. But what happens if there's a glitch in one of them caused basically by the internet, which led to this outside the box thinking that is not in the Weaver's wheelhouse? And it's funny, we're talking about this. I saw a little short on YouTube a couple of days ago, one of these interview on the street type of things. You know, and they put the microphone, and in this one, it's just the microphone. You don't see the other person. It's just the microphone in front of this girl's face. And like, the question is like, does size matter or something? And the girl is doing this, you know, oh no, it doesn't. I think it's very important that, and it was, the short was someone else reacting to this. So the person reacting, the guy's like, no, that's really sweet. What she's saying, that's really sweet. So like, there's people on his stream that he's responding to them, and they point out that it's fake. He's like, this isn't fake. And he's reading the chat, and so he takes that clip and he rewinds it back, and you can see just a couple frames where the lady's hand comes up and melds with the fucking microphone.
Holy shit.
So the whole video was
That's
goddamn fake.
about, yeah.
Yeah, exactly that, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yep, see? Where you kind of, it's that AI, that chat GPT.
So real.
Yes, where it seems so real.
Something is off.
Yep.
It's exactly what I'm talking about.
So real, it's too good to be true.
Right?
That's a good, fuck, that's a good one.
Yeah, advice, ladies and gentlemen, when you're watching something and you're not sure, watch the hands of the people. The hands always give it away. It's the hand, carefully
the eyes
watch.
Too.
Is it the eyes
there's
too?
Something weird about the eyes as well.
Fucking AI can't handle hands very well.
Or when like textures are being brought together. So once again, somebody like grabbing a microphone, a lot of times the hand will like fuse to it for a moment or like kind of fade into it.
Yep. See, that's exactly it. So fucking
Messing with a shirt or something. Look for stuff like that where actual interactions are happening.
yeah, that's just life advice there, because fucking shit's tricky now. But that's like, something like that, creating a glitch or a new, and this kind of incorporates all of these, because now it realizes it can lie, it can trick you. It's a little bit Skynet. Like, you look at the Weaver and you go, no, Weaver's like Skynet. No. Skynet had independent thought.
Yeah.
Skynet is kind of that's the Weaver's nightmare. That's Wild infecting the Weaver.
And this is where, like, even with, the Jeeves spirit lying to you, it's not lying to you maliciously. No, it's trying it out. It's expressing itself in this way because it gives information. That's its purpose. Now it doesn't have to give right information. It can get creative.
And how much is that a fucking
It's creating.
problem?
That is the Weaver.
Yeah, that's a
creating.
big problem.
But that's the Wild's job. So now what is this new thing that is happening? So what does it look like? I think it looks like that.
I like that.
And like, I could just imagine like the aftermath of like, they had this little plan to break into this Pentax facility or whatever, and it goes horribly wrong. The elders are on the lead's ass, the one man who came back alive. What did you do? And it honestly might not ever be connected because that spirit has only ever given them good information.
What are the repercussions of this in the world? Is Weaver being able to create?
And now I'm kind of just imagining what's the Weaver's answer to this? What's its glitch hunting spirits?
Which I think is something we might have to save for another day.
Yeah,
we are out of time, but you should probably look for another follow-up episode along these lines pretty soon.
Because that was fun.
That's going on the list of shit that I came up with for ideas of episodes while we have been here doing this episode.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
it's fun when we can add to that list.
Right? In the meantime, however, we do have to get going. I needs to go to bed.
Past midnight.
Yeah. We're working the kinks out.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. But hey, on behalf of everyone here at Scratch Wolf Studio, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Make sure you come back next week. Make sure you're current on the shows. You know where to go. Ko-Fi, help us out. But thanks so much for everything. Make sure to take care of yourselves and take care of each other, because shit's crazy. But we are in this together. And for as much as there is that tears us apart, there's the shit that keeps us together, shit like this. We can have fun, we can laugh, we can have a good time, even if we disagree. It's all okay. We will see you next time. Take care, stay healthy, drink your water, go to school, whatever. We'll see you. Not to be outdone, I found a quarter the other day.